Hello everyone. Today we are going to present our poster, which is about a senior project with my friends who are Furkan Başaran, Nil Bermede, and Hamza. This project has completed for the requirement of senior project course of Tourism and Hotel Management Department in Bilkent University. Subject of our project is the effects of COVID-19 pandemic to the tourism sector. We chose this project because the world has been struggling with a huge pandemic, and most of the sectors in the world have been affected from those damages. And tourism sector is also one of those sectors, and it can be said that it took a big part from those damages. So in this video, each of us will first mention what we have argued in this research, and then we analyze our study with some charts. And now Nil start with her part.
Hello, thank you, Oğuzhan. Before understanding pandemic effects, we need to understand what is pandemic means totally. And for understanding that, we need to know what it means of endemic, outbreak, and epidemic. So endemic means a sickness regularly found in an area or at a sort of people. An outbreak is increased number of endemics. But if an outbreak is not handled fast, it can be an epidemic. So what is epidemic? Epidemic is a sickness which affects larger number of people at a region or at a population. And lastly, pandemic means an epidemic, which affects all the globe and affecting large of people. So there are lots of pandemics in the past. However, the circumstances of them always varied. And when we compare COVID-19 pandemic with other pandemics, we can see that, especially at SARS, how taking precautions at the early stage of the pandemic is important. Since when people having SARS pandemic, they did so, and that's why less people affected. It wasn't like a global crisis like COVID-19. So this was my part. Now my friend Oğuzhan will tell his part.
Sorry. Hello again. Now I will continue with tourism figures comparison before and after COVID-19 between 2019 and 2020. So as I said, tourism is a sector that may be affected immediately by current fluctuations. So the COVID-19 pandemic has been affected the whole world, both economically and socially, and tourism sector takes a part from it. And it also has been heavily damaged by travel restrictions imposed in response to the pandemic. Although some countries have lifted travel restrictions after the number of cases has decreased, there are still huge differences when we compare the figures with previous years. Turkey especially has seen great economic losses since the revenue from tourism plays a major role in Turkey's economy. And in the first 9 months of 2020, the tourism arrivals decreased by 71.3% when it's compared with 2019. And it's actually a huge number for Turkish economy. And Turkish tourism was not the only one that damaged hard, but even in most visited destinations like Spain, France, also hit heavily by COVID-19. And according to UNWTO, it was so heavy that there were 4% more decrease than 2008 global economic crisis. So, how hotels take actions against COVID-19? So the hotels are the places where hygiene is the most significant element to have a quality service. And this has become more vital with the COVID-19. And hotels takes some precautions, and these precautions include general rules in the facility, rules covering guests, new arrangements made in the rooms, precautions in kitchens and restaurants, swimming pools and beaches, and measures for fitness and spa areas. And now Furkan will continue with his part.
Hello, I will mention my topic, which is Safe Tourism Certificate. And this Safe Tourism Certificate program was launched by the Ministry of Culture and Tourism, and it is one of the first of its kind. And with this Safe Tourism Certification program, which also defines and advises an extensive series of measures to be taken with the regards to transportation and also accommodation of all Turkish citizens and international tourists, and tourists who will spend their holidays in Turkey. And it also takes extensive measures for the well-being and health conditions of the tourists. So there are obviously necessary conditions to be able to take this certification, and establishments which are having establishments which are having 30 rooms, at least 30 or more rooms, and they are compulsory to take this certification program, take the certificate, and also to be able to take this certification, the establishments have to get authorization from the accreditation companies, and these international accreditation institutions inspect the facilities such as accommodation facilities, food and beverage facilities, culture, art, and congress facilities, also including theme parks, ski lift, and sea tourism facilities. And they are making these inspections according to the international standards and criteria to issue the Safe Tourism Certification Program. And they verify the establishments, and they conduct hygiene and health inspections, and they do compliance assessments. And there are also criteria for corporations and companies to be authorized for accreditation. If those companies are verified to get the authorization to inspect other facilities and companies, and then they are able to do those inspections. Also, there are other criteria for the facilities to be able to require the certificate, such as there will be periodic inspections conducted monthly, and the first inspection and the inspection process will be completed in 1 day, and there's no remote inspection, and it goes on and on. And if during the inspections non-compliance with given the criteria, the set criteria is if it is identified, the facility firstly will be warned, and if such non-compliance continues, the facility's verification will be cancelled. Also, the other topic that I mentioned in the study was the comparison among the top 5 coronavirus coping countries, and how they have handled coronavirus better than other countries. Firstly, I mentioned Taiwan because they have total 1,030 cases and total 10 deaths. And why Taiwan is better than other countries? Because Taiwan started testing and quarantining travelers from Wuhan, China, and well before other governments even heard of the outbreak. And also Taiwan is experienced because it was heavily affected the SARS epidemic in 2003. And the country has the third highest number of infections in the world. So the nation has reinforced its preparedness and for the next outbreak, and COVID-19 is the next outbreak, so they were experienced before, and including establishing an infectious disease prevention network and conducting annual hospital drills. And to avoid the virus spreading further, the Taiwanese coronavirus task force announced on the first day of the new year that it will not consider allowing Indonesian migrant workers to enter the country in the near future, unless there's a clear demand. And there are other countries, and I will just say them by their name. New Zealand had 2,201 cases and total 26 deaths. Iceland, 6,205 cases and 29 deaths. Singapore, 60,381 cases and total 30 deaths. And finally, Vietnam, by 2,603 cases and 35 deaths. The major role was that these countries have a common thing, which is they are mostly an island, and so the being able to enter the country is by itself is difficult. So this was a common reason that helped these countries to have a better handling position in the COVID-19 outbreak. So I will now let the microphone to Can to speak for his own topics.
Hello, everyone. I want to talk about COVID-19 impact on sustainability. The COVID-19 pandemic has triggered a substantial adverse influence on human health and the economic situation. Several regional and national governments have provided stay-at-home orders to improve social distancing and lessen person-to-person contact to fight the infection spread. And also ecological effects of COVID-19. The global disruption caused by the COVID-19 has brought about several effects on the environment and climate. Due to the movement restrictions and a significant slowdown of social and economic activities, air quality has improved in many cities with a reduction in water pollution in different parts of the world. Also, death rates of wild animals hugely dropped. Let's talk about more social impacts of COVID-19. The COVID-19 pandemic has had far-reaching repercussions past illness spread and initiatives to quarantine it, consisting of political, social, and social implications. And more about civil rights and freedom, some countries outlawed the printing and distribution of newspapers. Also, COVID-19 hugely impacted education. The pandemic has influenced educational systems worldwide. Consisting of local closures, this affects over 1.5 billion students worldwide. Also, people with low income are more likely to acquire the coronavirus as well as to die from it. Because of being uninsured, people shed their health insurance after losing their jobs. Many low-income employees in service tasks have come to be jobless. Also, religious effects. Most of the churches, synagogues, mosques, and temples closed. People had mental health and psychological concerns appeared. Also, a disorder called chronophobia affected people's lives. Having too much anxiety about getting the virus that triggers significant disability in day-to-day life working. Financial effect of COVID-19. As the COVID-19 virus has spread worldwide, problems have changed from supply-side production issues to the service industry's lowered organization. The pandemic created one of the most comprehensive worldwide economic downturns in the background, with more than a third of the world populace at the time being positioned on lockdown. As the pandemic spreads, global meetings and events throughout innovation style and sporting activities are being cancelled or postponed. While the monetary impact of the travel and trade sector is yet to be estimated, it is likely to be in billions and increasing. Now I will speak to the Oğuzhan.
Yeah. So now we will present our poster, and let's start with the abstract. So as we argued, the year 2020 will be remembered with the pandemic, which is called COVID-19, and this pandemic gave huge damages to the countries and their sectors, both economically and socially. So in these circumstances, the purpose of this paper is to examine how the tourism sector has been affected from the COVID-19. And in order to reach an answer, we conduct a study with 25 questions, and we conduct this study with upscale hotels, with 10 upscale hotels in different destinations in Turkey. So the results have shown that the hotels in Turkey has been really affected with huge numbers, and their occupancy rates has decreased almost 70%. And our other result is those hotels actually took really important precautions, and they train their employees about this issue on a regular basis. Now Neil start with the methodology. Sorry, John start with the methodology.
Methodology: the 10 participant hotels with 5 or 4 stars filled the survey using an online link, which sent via email. A questionnaire was made to compare 2019 to 2020 data to understand COVID-19's effect on the tourism industry and understand the precautions they take about COVID-19. The survey has 25 questions about comparison and precaution to COVID-19. The questionnaire was prepared and filled at 3 weeks. When the questionnaire was completed, all the data collected were at an online survey platform. The data at online platform is analyzed and put in graphics to understand statistics by using Excel. Nil will talk about the graphics.
So graphics are really important since they show comparison about occupancy rates, which actually these occupancy rates shows how COVID-19 pandemic affected the tourism sector rapidly. In 2018, occupancy rates of the participant hotels were high. 60% of the participant hotels occupancy rates were 70% to 100%, while 40% of the participant hotels occupancy rates were 40% to 70% minimum, and this is minimum. However, when the COVID pandemic happened, occupancy rates of participant hotels really rapidly decreased, unfortunately. 70% of the participant hotels had 10% to 40% occupancy, which you can see actually the rapid change decrease. And 30% of the hotels occupancy rates were 40% to 7%. And this was the maximum. And as for Turkey, at 2018 and 2020 tourism figure comparison made in high season at Turkey. So this comparison made according to the months. And actually you can see that at the first 2 months, at 2020, was had more occupancy rate than 2018. However, at third month, it rapidly dropped, and afterwards it just increased at 8 months. So this was unfortunately the rapid change and showed actually how the COVID-19 pandemic affected tourism sector. And now my friend Furkan will tell us the conclusion of the chart.
For the conclusion part, as we mentioned before, the purpose, the aim of this study was to see the impact of the COVID-19 and in the tourism sector, mostly in Turkey, and analyze the details of the pandemic and how it affected the tourism sector and the hotels in Turkey. So firstly, we mentioned what is a pandemic and what its difference from other diseases like epidemics, outbreaks. And then we move on to the tourism figures, which were compared between the years of 2019 and 2020. And then we shared our results of the questionnaire that we conducted with 10 hotels, which are 8 of them were 5-star hotels and 2 of them were 4-star hotels. And in addition to this, we also mentioned the effect of the COVID-19 and how it's impacted the work environment, the changes and the precautions taken in the hotels to make a secure and safe location and work environment to get tourism attention. And we mentioned the results before, and I just want to say that when we look at the pie charts here, there's in the 10 hotels we have sent the survey, there's no hotel that selected the occupancy rates between 10% and 40%. And in the 2020, the 7 of the 10 hotels selected this rate between 10% and 40%, and the 3 of them selected the 40% between 70%. So you can understand from this pie chart that the impact of the COVID-19 was huge to the tourism sector in Turkey, especially because Turkey has a substantial amount of tourism income in the previous years, and it is an important sector that provides a huge amount of income for the country. And also we mentioned the Safe Tourism Certificate Program, which was launched with the leadership of the Ministry of Culture and Tourism and also the Ministry of Health and other ministries. And finally, we mentioned the impact of COVID-19 on sustainability. We discussed under 3 headings, which are ecological, social, and financial. This was our poster presentation. Thank you for listening.